Hey, welcome to The Explainer. You know, in a world that feels, well, pretty shaky a lot of the time, where things can change on a dime, have you ever stopped to ask what's actually holding you up? What are you really building your life on? That's exactly what we're going to dig into today. Seriously, take a second and think about it. What is your life built on? It sounds like a simple question, right? But the answer, well, the answer tells you everything. When you strip it all back, what makes up your foundation? Your sense of who you are. For so many of us, it turns out, we're building on some surprisingly fragile ground. I mean, look at this list. We so often build our sense of self on things that are totally external. The text we're exploring today calls these false associations. We wrap our entire identity up in our job title, the number of likes we get, the stuff we own, or what other people think about us. And that's where so much of our modern anxiety comes from, isn't it? That constant fear that if someone kicks one of these props out from under us, the whole thing just collapses. And what happens is we get caught in this endless cycle. We're always chasing the next promotion, the next cool gadget, the next bit of approval from someone else. The source material uses this amazing analogy of wandering from one branch of a tree to another, never finding a solid place to just rest. You never feel truly secure. Honestly, it's the very definition of burnout. But here's where it gets really interesting. This ancient text, the Bhagavad Gita, gives us this wild metaphor that can help us see what's going on. It describes our world as an inverted tree, a tree with its roots in the air and its branches growing downward. It's a concept that completely flips our whole perspective upside down. So this upside-down tree is called the Achvatha, and the core idea is that this world we experience every day, it's like the reflection of a real tree in a lake. Now that reflection, it seems real, right? We can see it, we interact with it, but it's temporary, it's shimmering, and its true source, the actual tree, is somewhere else entirely. It's above us, unseen. And let's break this down, because it maps onto our lives perfectly. Those roots pointing up, that's the real deal, the permanent spiritual source. The branches coming down, that's all of us, all the different forms of life in this material world. The little twigs are the things our senses are always chasing, sights, sounds, tastes. And the leaves? Well, the leaves are all the things we do to try and climb higher on these reflected branches. Okay, so this brings up a massive question, right? If everything we're experiencing is just a temporary, shimmering reflection, how on earth do we find the thing that's real? How do we get in touch with the actual tree, the true source of it all? Well, here's the catch. According to the text, you can't find the source by just exploring more of the reflection. It's like trying to find the real tree by swimming deeper into the lake. It's just not there. Its real beginning, its end, its entire foundation, it's beyond what our material senses can even perceive. So what's the move? The text gives us a pretty powerful instruction. We have to cut our attachment to this reflection. And the tool for the job is called Asanga Shastrana, which literally translates to the weapon of detachment. Now, this isn't about not caring or becoming a zombie. It's about being determined and actively cutting the ropes that keep us tangled up in all this temporary stuff we mistake for who we are. So you see, it becomes a really clear choice. On one side, you have the reflected tree, our material world. It's temporary, it's illusory, and it just keeps us attached and entangled, always chasing the next thing. But on the other side, you have the real tree, the spiritual source. That's eternal. And connecting with that's what leads to real freedom and unshakable stability. And this is the absolute key point. Detachment isn't about creating some empty void in your life. It's about clearing away all the clutter, all the illusion, so you can finally see what's been there the whole time. It's about letting go of that shaky, muddy ground so you can finally feel the solid rock that's been right under your feet all along. So what is that solid rock? The text tells us exactly what our true identity is. We are not our bodies, we are not our job titles, we are not our social media profiles. We are sanatana, which means we are eternal, fragmental parts of a supreme spiritual whole. That is our true root. The text breaks it down even further. It says there are two classes of beings. Here, in this material reflection, we're called kshara, which means fallible, because our bodies are temporary, they change, they get old. But our true nature, our real self, is akshara, infallible. It's eternal and it is absolutely unchanging. And this right here, this is the answer to that very first question we asked. Your true identity, that eternal spiritual part of you, is indestructible. It can't be touched by a layoff or a bad review or what someone else says about you. It's the foundation that lets you weather any storm. This is the solid ground we've been looking for. Okay, so that all sounds amazing philosophically, but let's get real. How do we actually do that? How do we stop building our house on the shaky reflection and start building it on this real, eternal foundation? Well, the text actually gives us a 5-step path. First, you've got to free yourself from illusion and that need for false prestige. Second, really work to understand the difference between what's eternal and what's just temporary. Third, be done with chasing after temporary material desires. Fourth, get free from that constant seesaw of happiness and distress. And finally, learn how to connect with or surrender to that supreme source. Let's just translate that into modern terms for a second. This whole path is about making a conscious choice every single day. It's choosing authenticity over what just looks good on the outside. It's about choosing purpose over just getting more possessions. It's choosing to build inner resilience instead of just reacting to everything that happens. And it's choosing to trust your inner truth over the constant noise of outer validation. That is real freedom. And just to give you a sense of how important this is, the text itself says this knowledge is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures. This isn't just some nice self-help advice, it's considered the absolute core of wisdom, the key to living a truly perfected life. So after all that, what's the big takeaway? The things we spend so much time and energy chasing, the status, the validation, the stuff, it's all just part of the reflection. It's temporary. The real work, the real journey, is to find what's permanent, that indestructible eternal self. The invitation here is to start building your life on that, because that's the one thing that can never, ever be taken away from you. Everything else is just decoration.